All right, it's 9 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order.
Roll call? Yeah, Mr. Butler.
Yep.
Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Hilbert.
Yes.
Mr. Eiley.
Yes.
Mr. Stannis. Mr. Snoopy, and Mr. McDevitt.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone will please rise and repeat after the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we'll go to the agenda. Are there any changes? Everything's good?
Approve the agenda.
Number 7.
You understand that?
There's just a typo. It says consideration of.
Let's consider it. With that modification, I move to approve the agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll go to approval of the minutes from November 19th, 24.
Only two places that need to correct the minutes is, at the very beginning, it's a Tuesday, it's October 19th at 15, and then down under approval of minutes, that also has to be changed. The 19th, not the 15th.
Any other comments on the changes to the minutes? Pages 1 through 3, 1 through 3.
Yeah, I have a thought on page 2, under these staff updates, 1, 2, 3. The 5th line down, the commissioners deliberated extensively. I just thought perhaps we should say discussed, since it wasn't technically a deliberation towards a vote.
Any other comments?
Is that a motion to approve with that modification?
Yes, I'll support.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so. All right, public comment period. So we'll open up public comment. Anyone in the audience or on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Nope. All right, I'll move to close the public comment period and we'll move on to, well, there's no new business, we'll move on to old business for the consideration of the final site condominium with private road and request for North Shores of Saugatuck LLC applicant, Mr. Foster, parcel 20-003-050-60 containing approximately 21.42 acres. Yes, start with that and I guess why don't we have what, yeah. Why don't we have Scott give us a rundown on the project?
Well, check it up there.
Well, yeah, because everything's being recorded.
All right. Recording, Scott Boscraft on behalf of North Shores of Saugatuck, and here on behalf of final site plan approval for the site we're now calling the Barno, which is 8 individual home sites for future condominium construction. Everybody, I believe, has a green binder or a version of it, or electronic version of it. We were here a little over a month ago, 40 days ago, for preliminary approval. Not a lot of changes in the site plan, just fast forward, probably a lot more approvals for soil erosion as well as septic, drain commission, Allegan County, did a few other things, and then had some extensive conversations with Daniel and the township attorneys, just related to the well site, the future well site for the township, and trying to create some buffer area to make it actually a better site. So there were some discussions about that. Daniel could probably go even better than that one. We've gone through fire department approval, but I think that was even before the preliminary approval. And I think the only thing that really is outstanding is the Eagle 353, the Dune area, that application is still in the process. But, that decision has always been. I think that is for the most part, but I'd be happy to answer questions.
Well, I have, but I give some first specific as well.
Yeah, sure, thank you, and thank you all for being willing to meet, today, and your quick replies to schedule the special meeting. As Scott mentioned, this is the Barno site, 21 acres, 8 single-family residential units. A couple things that are unique to this project is that the applicant is utilizing existing wells on the property to provide fire protection and also meet the requirement of water service during the construction phase. But they have agreed to design and construct an extension of the township public water main, which would connect all of those 8 homes to public water main, and no certificate of occupancy would be issued on those units until that water main service is connected. So the use of that hydrant or the existing wells, kind of the private well, not the township community well. The use of that is for the construction period. So I just wanted to let you all know that, and those conversations with Cal Lake and the township and our township engineer and Mr. Alfred, engineer, are happening and are in the works right now. In terms of some items that the planning commission requested at the last meeting, in the packet are some, I guess, design inspiration images of what the Barnos will look like. We do have a condition in our recommendation that those comply with our township zoning ordinance for the architectural requirements that we have. The applicant also provided the approval letters from the drain commission, the health department, the fire district, the township engineer. There are conditions in those memos, but that doesn't impede our ability or your ability to approve the final condo. We just know that before anything is reported, any private road permits are issued, any building permits are issued, those conditions would have to be. Not a lot has changed from the review letter that you saw before. I did provide a little bit more, detail in the language in terms of what should occur before permits and approvals are issued. And the applicant's correct, there has been extensive conversation with our township engineer, attorney, manager, and the applicant about that community well site that's adjacent to this property. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sure, well, you just said that it's going to be used for construction.
The private one on site, yes, it would provide, there's fire protection that would be provided. And one of the requirements that we have for issuing any building permit is that utilities be on the property, or that the site is served by water and sewer. So the well that's there meets that requirement to get that building permit, but there would be no occupancy until the municipal water main connection is made.
Probably I read, maybe I'm wrong, that it was also going to be used for ongoing irrigation post construction.
Correct, they do intend to keep their private well for irrigation.
Question, I guess, maybe I have, and this is just, I mean, obviously it's all hypothetical, but how does enforcement work if just some wild thing happens where they can't get the water main in time, or there's a year delay on it or something, and the homes are constructed and people want to get, how do we enforce? I mean, how does that, 'cause I know that gets contentious, right? If you're And all of a sudden you put all this money into a house and you're ready to, for condominium, and then you're ready to move in. And something gets delayed, the main's in, but Cal Lake says, no, you can't fill it because of this. I don't know what that is, but just wondering how that works.
I mean, you bring up a good question, and a question that we haven't been in that situation before in the time that I've been at the township. I would say that the first step would be the applicant returning to the planning commission to amend make a case to amend their conditions of approval and consider whatever that departure is from what the approved understanding of the project is. And that would be a discussion and decision and deliberation between the applicant, the planning commission, probably the township attorney.
Okay.
So that would be my answer.
Yeah.
I think it would be coming back here and working through that.
Okay. I just envision that scenario, as far-fetched as it probably is, would get messy.
Yeah,
Well, we have to acknowledge that this particular applicant knows how to move quickly. And at that point, probably would be moving very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, she could have, I don't know, if he came back and Cal Lake said, we don't have enough water. I mean, quite a far-fetched thing, if we don't have enough water, nobody else can hook up, we're not giving any more meters out. I would have to come back here and go, well, we do have a well, it's already approved by Allegan County. We already have the water service there, can we change it so that instead of hooking up to the Cal Lake system that says we can we just use our existing well that we already had in for water use during construction? And it would be something along that line, or any other scenario, whether it was a road or 135th road or something like that.
Has there been any analysis to see if, would that existing well support?
It would, it's a large well that's we had on the property even before we had purchased the property that McClendon had put in. And we currently use it to irrigate around the gate area. And down the road a little bit on 135th. Well, actually, all the way down 135th into the commercial area. So it's a pretty good size well. And so Allegan County has already approved it to handle these 8 units too. And so you would think we would stop there, but the goal really is to get the water, the community water near the well site. And so it just seems like the next step is to continue bringing it over there and getting it in front of the property for a future well site.
For me, it's reassuring there's a backup point.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I should owe it to the ABC, it's how it is.
And we are happy with the protection of the township in regards to the well. Well, and
I can answer that. Yeah, we've, Scott's been really great and proactive about working with us to kind of tie up any loose ends regarding the well site. We did sit down with Eagle and talk to them about the particular parcel that we had available to install a community well. Some of their requirements, so they do have, if you're installing a community well, you do have a 200-foot isolation area around the entire well. With the parcel that we had, we were somewhat limited in terms of how many wells we could install. So we did work with North Shores and figure out that if we establish a restricted covenant around an additional 200 feet of property to the north, to the west and the south, it would give the township more flexibility in placing wells and the number of wells that we could place. So I think in the end, it was a great conversation. It was something that would have to come up at some point. I mean, we had talked to Eagle in the past and we were hoping that the fact that the well site's surrounded by critical dune area, we could get some release from some of their requirements. They essentially said to us that that could be the case, that may not be the case. So now that we do have, or we're working towards a restricted covenant for additional isolation area to the north, the west and south, we have a lot more flexibility in placing the community wells.
And this would help you in your discussions with Callaway, Douglas, and the city of Saugatuck. Because, it would be really cool to come to the table when we can say we have water, but we need sewer.
Yeah, no, and it really is a fantastic gift, I mean, the. How we got to this, it was a multi-year process where Cal Lake had grants to identify future well sites. They identified a parcel within North Shore's property, North Shore was very generous in gifting that parcel to the township. They're just, I mean, in this day and age where we do have a lot of open land still. But you have to have the convergence of the open land with an area that sits on an aquifer with water of good quality. And that's not something that's very easy to find in our area, so the fact that we have it is really incredible, and it's a huge, I mean. Right now, it's really the only place for future community well sites. Cal Lake will continue to look for future well sites. It's quite possible we'll identify additional well sites, but it is a multi-year planning process. So the fact that we have this and the fact that we were able to work with North Shores to actually have more flexibility in the number of wells we place and where they're placed is a great step forward for the township. I'm really grateful that we were able to have that conversation and come to those agreements.
So how would we phrase the motion? Motion to approve, subject to the conditions laid down by our planner and Free and Newhoff. And then also subject to Saugatuck Township Board approving the final agreement. And that's only for the occupancy. So he can go ahead and build with the wells, but no occupancy until the easement and what the township needs for these wells are accomplished at the same time. That'd be.
We have a recommendation, it would be for final site condominium subject to those conditions in the report. And the report does talk about the existing agreement graphic being updated in that well site, the community well site agreement. Certainly, if you want to
I think I'd
modify.
like to modify it that the township board also signs off on the final agreement for the easement.
And that
It
would be.
does say, if I'm reading, Renee, if this is the right one, where the applicant shall work with the township and shall record an open space easement to create a safe isolation distance around. Just by the fact that you have to record it, that would mean that township signed off on it, right?
Mhm.
So it does state that,
That number is
number 7. So it does state that it has to be recorded with the county.
Well, I just add, I would just like to add and the township board has signed off on. I want to make sure Daniel's happy. I don't want him coming back and so. So that, if you think that covers it, that's fine. I would just add that the township board also approves this. Because we really have to have that water easement.
For the, not that they wouldn't approve the final site condo, it's
The
the
occupancy doesn't take.
occupancy, but is contingent on the community well agreement.
Being completed, recorded, and approved by the township board.
So where are you gonna add that, number 7,
15.
15?
That would be my motion.
Lynn, do you understand how you can write that so that we have it, that it's appropriate in the document?
Yeah.
Right, so repeat the motion and then. Let's,
A motion to approve subject to the planners and engineering firm comments and the additional condition that the easement is recorded and approved by the township board prior to the issuance of any occupancy permits.
Is that-
future well site.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Renee, you got that?
Yeah.
Approved. I would, second
Second
that.
that. All right. Any discussion? All right. Denise, you do a roll call vote?
Mr. Butler.
Yep.
Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Helmer.
Yes.
Mr. Riley.
Yes.
Mr. Stannis.
Yes.
Webster, yes. Mr. McFadden.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. I will say, Scott, these look really cool.
Okay.
So,
And yes, thank you for adding that.
Yes, you had asked for some renderings, so.
Check this.
Are these gonna be available on spectacle one in the time for one?
I think we're just gonna build all 8 of them at the same time, but there'll be 4 to 5 different styles. And then I will probably finish the interior until I have a few customers. Have construction going on for a long period of time and everything.
So you're gonna put a magnet that says Riley Automotive and all the fun.
Exactly.
or if it turns out, like the barn, like the other barns, you probably have customers before you even break ground.
That actually was always kind of a surprise. I think timing helped that project out. So during COVID and people wanted to get out of the house and we had some good internet over there. So that really, but the demand there is still strong. I think it's still about 100 and some people, but we aren't building any more. So
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you.
you bet. Thank you guys for coming. I do appreciate it.
Maybe you can have this notebook back. Yes, you can,
All right, well, thank you.
because, you know, there's one less thing in my house.
All right.
If people want to communication, or we just,
Just like, after the last meeting, you all received a link to that video that was sent by Langford Kelsey, her colleague. She has a longer video, if you'd like, I can forward that as well. I did prepare an email and have had communication with the township attorney and manager on the discussion that you had during your meeting about the proposed moratorium on the Lake Shore and the high-risk erosion. And that will be on the board agenda in December. Other than that, that is all. I don't have any applications for the December meeting.
we'll say that video was dramatic.
That was unbelievable. I was, my mouth was hanging open.
To me, that the amount of dune they removed from that one section is, I don't know how you do that without some kind of approvals. Wow,
It's very,
it's gotta be 10 feet and something.
yeah, I think more than that, and, yeah, seeing that side by side, you know, what the permit process is in critical dune versus high risk erosion, I think says a lot, you know, and there's been no, I mean, there have been no, I think the only violation is with some of the erosion happening kind of at the margin and the property, near the property line, but there was no issue with the removal.
Yeah, so. The only real reason it was done was, purely selfish as to how they wanted their views. And there's no way, no reason you couldn't construct the home with the existing topography. To me, it was just, sorry, it was just little kids from the basement.
Right.
Wow. Thanks for sending it.
Yeah, thank you.
There was a board meeting, right? Next week. So we got no, any other planning commissioner comments? No?
I have one.
Oh,
Just in light of our discussion at our last meeting about the potential of moratorium along Lakeshore Drive, I asked staff to review the last 2 years of building permits to see how many were stair related. And apparently there were 2 in 2 years.
Okay.
One was a new installation and one was a replacement. I just thought that was pertinent to the discussion, which is obviously for the board, but I wanted to share.
Yeah, but the thing about that is, it's interesting, there were 2 permits, but how many people build without permits? So, I get that, And you know, you go along there and it's unfortunately the stairway and the lift is
I know one of the,
terrible, but
yeah,
you know, that, I appreciate that when you got the evidence, but how much is it done without the building permits? Is,
it's an interesting thing, because I know one gentleman that is, I think, one of the main stair builders on the lake shore, and he's always busy. So, and so I asked, well, that's a good question.
Maybe we need to speak to.
And it could be Douglas, I mean, it could
yes,
be
yes,
Douglas.
it could be that,
Yeah.
you know, that's all happened along there and it's
Yeah.
really.
Denise, the only people we have to feel responsible to are the people who actually applied for a permit, because you're gonna do it anyway. The fact that there's a moratorium in place really won't make much difference though.
You need a township your own.
What's the penalty for building? They're not that expensive.
I am not sure what our penalty is for building the home. If you receive a stop work order, then you have to apply for a permit, have that reviewed. There have been cases, I don't know here, but in other communities where once you apply and it's deemed that your project doesn't meet the ordinance, you do have to tear it out and build what does comply.
The same with zoning, if you're within the setback and you go to appeal and it's denied, you have to tear down and, yeah, oh yeah. Happens, I mean, in certain communities, I don't know about this community, but I know that in some communities, that's the way it works. You have to tear it down.
There's a guy on our lake who built a gazebo way too close to the water and he was called out on it and he ended up paying, rumor is like a $500 fine and it's just sitting there. Looks great, looks happy and he got this little big gentle slap.
It all depends on how much your township is willing to take it to that level. It really just about your township and whether they are going to abide with the zoning or not and.
All right, need staff? You already covered this. Okay. I think that covers communications. Yeah. Now open up to the second public comment period. Seeing no one, I'll close the second public comment period and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
5 minutes,